Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Tuesday and welcome back to Modern Problems, Pagan Solutions. Today we're going to talk about balancing the individual and the community because our modern world never seems to get this issue right, hence the distortions and the extremism everywhere we turn. I've long held the view that the essence of evil is actually corruption, to turn a thing into the inverse of what it ought to be, to twist around its purpose and use it for unsavory ends. And that's exactly what's happened with not only the concepts of individualism and community, but also to the words themselves. In order to speak sensibly about the topic means we have to untangle ourselves from the rubbish that has obscured it. It is no easy thing to reject what people are trying to force us to believe and to take a more dispassionate view of matters without taking any of the distortions into consideration. I mean, it really is difficult to actually delete all of that from our brains. Now, consider two of the prevailing screeches that we deal with, and I call them screeches because that's what they are. One screech is collectivistic. Only the collective matters. And by collective, we can see in practice that this means a rather elite minority directing the crowd, and a crowd that has abandoned its capacity for reason. The zombie horde, the Church of Woke. And the other is an absolute atomized individualism in which you must have total independence from all things and all people, and even from, in the most extreme cases, of reality itself, and that is presented as the ultimate virtue. It simply will not do. Both paths lead to despair and ruin, and we can see the proof all around us and in the historical record. This is why I just don't entertain arguments that are based on either extreme. I know the foundation for those arguments is broken, so why would I bother with anything that is built on those foundations? No argument based upon a false premise has value. So unless I am specifically going to refute something, I'm not going to waste brain space on the rubbish. So humans, as we know, do not thrive under tyranny or in total isolation. Our ancestors knew this, which is why their surviving wisdom speaks of the need to have time on one's own, time with others, individual rights, community responsibilities, the need to nurture your own soul, and the need to cultivate relationships. It was all about balance, practicing common decency, and keeping a realistic perspective. Living well, individually or communally, just does not happen in a climate of extremes, or when people are short-sighted and fail to consider consequences. A healthy equilibrium with a mutual respect at the center was vital. And I think our ancestors were right, because look at what happens every single time humans reject that equilibrium and try to go another route, and try to persuade us how clever they are for having thought of it. There really is nothing new about this. It all goes in cycles. But because of this, and because of that tendency to go to extreme, this is why I advocate not only for pagan spiritual values, but for pagan principles in day-to-day life. They are grounded in reality and what actually works in practice. Not theories, not idealism, not a blindness to human nature, but sheer practicality. This is something that other forms of faith, particularly those that seek to escape the flesh to go on to utopian afterlife, just cannot provide for. If the goal of someone's philosophy or religion is utopia, whether on earth or once one sheds the mortal coil, then that philosophy or religion cannot adequately address practical problem solving. And it's foolish to try to use them for that purpose. I mean, this is why these ideas can't bring about a balance between the individual and the community. They lack the tools. They don't have that philosophical foundation that would make it possible. But it's a world of difference within paganism, because we always come back to what it is that nature teaches us. The manner in which it functions teaches us not only what reality is and how to identify it, but how and why it works. It's understood that corruption kills, and therefore corruption must be removed, whether it's found in the form of an illness or an injury that requires treatment, or a problem within an individual with a proclivity towards criminality, or a society that has gone completely off the rails. Now, my other video series about the Havamal, the videos that I did on the Celtic triads and references that I make to Stoic philosophers, I'm not just rambling about these things for my health. This is wisdom that the world desperately needs, and I do my humble best to make sure the case why we shouldn't merely be familiar with these ideas, but seek to live by them. We cannot fight off the corruption that surrounds concepts about individuals and communities by criticizing that corruption. The corruption has to be rooted out and then replaced by better ideas. In order for ideas to be better, they need to be solidly grounded in reality to serve as a foundation for all of the other ideas that get built on top of them. It is pagan virtues that have stood the test of time, so much so that the Abrahamic creeds have done their best to lay claim to many of those virtues, claiming them as a sole possession of themselves. Well, I mean, that really isn't the case. Any sensible human society can have these virtues and practice them and acknowledge them, but it is absolutely within pagan faith that you see that at its core. And you will not have a stable society, let alone freedom as an individual, without pagan virtues at the center of it. So those are my thoughts on that topic. I would love to hear your own, either in the comments section or come visit me and the rest of the gang at Blackbird's Brew on Gilded. There's a link to join us in the description box, and you'd be very welcome there. But that'll do it for now, and I'll see you next time. Bye.